Hey everybody, it's Susan Trianos from learntocake.com, and today I am going to show you a really cool new product from Artisan Accents. It's called Dilution Solution, and this is genius for a couple of different things. Basically what it does is it takes your Artisan Accent gel colors and you can put them in a little container and dilute them with the dilution solution and make your own airbrush colors. It's great because, again, you only need your 10 core colors and a bottle of dilution solution. You don't need a set of gels and you don't need a set of airbrush colors. You just use what you already have. So Artisan Accents is great at keeping things simple. So you're going to see here there's a color formulation guide. This works with the gel colors so that you can use your 10 core colors to mix pretty much any color in the spectrum of the rainbow, like pretty much anything. And you can see in the guide I think there's about 50 colors here, but gradients of each, and it tells you how to mix all of these colors. So this works with the gels, and it also works when you're using the gels with the dilution solution. So today I'm going to airbrush some cookies and show you how this dilution solution works. I'm also going to airbrush a gum paste flower, and I'm also going to show you how to paint with it. So I've created myself a little template or stencil where I've got love, and you can see it's written backwards. There we have it here. I don't know if you can see that. But basically what I do is I Googled love font and picked a font that I liked, and I liked this one. Took a screenshot, flipped it backwards on my phone. There's all kinds of apps that you can use. And I put some parchment paper over my phone and used my phone as a light box and just traced over it with pencil, and voila, I have love. If you can't flip it over and get your print backwards, if you can't figure that out, just write it the regular way and then flip your paper over and trace the back side of it as well so that you get the pencil on the other side, okay? Because we want it written backwards here, and then when we put it on our fondant, we want it to be written front ways, okay? So I'm going to show you a nifty little trick on how to get this pencil transferred onto the fondant rather than rubbing and tracing over it and making like indentations and grooves and things in your fondant that you don't want. Okay, so let's get started. So I've already flooded my cookie. And if you don't know how to flood a cookie, I do have tutorials on my website on learntocake.com, and the color formulation guide is also on my website if you can't get your hands on this. But yeah, go to my website, go under recipes, learntocake.com, go under the recipes tab, and the color guide is there. Okay, so we're going to start with our shark cookies. So basically with the dilution solution, you're just mixing gel colors in with your solution. So for the shark, oh, my black is over here. Let's get my black color back. So for my shark, these are great white shark cookies. I'm actually going to put them on a piece of, move this stuff over, piece of paper towel so that it catches my overspray. So I'm going to put them upside down for me to work, because a great white is gray on top and fades into white. So I want to work this way on the top of the cookie rather than underneath. So I'm going to take a little container. You can get little containers from the dollar store. And I want gray. So to airbrush, I could just use a really diluted solution of black, but I'm actually going to mix gray. So I've got some black in my little jar, and I'm going to add some white to make gray. So basically the solution for this is 1 part of gel color to 3 parts dilution solution. And you can just eyeball it. It doesn't have to be exact. If you want something a little more diluted, you can go 4 to 1 or even 5 to 1. Okay? But as a general rule, you want it to at least be 3 to 1 so that it's not so thick that it won't go through your airbrush. Okay, so I'm just going to give this a shake. And On the jar, it doesn't look like it's mixed because the white is very thick, but if you look inside, it's quite mixed. It just takes a little shake. Okay, so I'm going to get my airbrush going here. And hopefully I cleaned it out well enough the last time. It's not clogged or anything. So I'm going to just pour some of this airbrush color into my airbrush reservoir, and there we go. So I'm going to very gently and carefully start to airbrush my shark. And I'm coming in at an angle so that my airbrush is heavier along the top and then fades into the white. And there we go. Simple as that. Okay, so I'm going to put this aside. Shut that off and finish these cookies off with just adding a couple of gills using royal icing and giving it a little black dot for an eye, and these cookies are done. So I think the gills are right about here, and I'm just going to do 3, and I'll do 3 here. Now, this was really easy to mix. I can save this. I don't have to throw it out. And a little bit of airbrush color goes a very long way. So I'm just going to leave that. And I like the shark cookies. I'll probably do more shark cookies soon. So I'm going to save that gray. And I've got some black here. I'm just going to pipe, oops, a little eyeball on my shark. Okay, so simple as that. So instead of, you know, flooding my cookie with gray on top, gray on the bottom, I think this looks a little bit more authentic. And it was really quick and easy to do. A lot of people have airbrushes and are scared to use them. Don't be afraid. If you can spray hairspray on your hair, you can manage an airbrush. Okay, so there we have the sharks are done. Okay, so I'll put those here. Now I'm going to move on to the flower. Typically, dusting my flowers, I've always dusted them, but lately I've really been liking the airbrush for my flowers and leaves. So that's another thing you can use them for. I'm actually going to get a cup of water here so I can clean out my airbrush. Not very prepared, guys, sorry. So let's get this airbrush cleaned. I'm just going to take this paper towel because I don't have anything to spill this into. Get rid of that color. And turn on my airbrush. Submerge it in the water and spray, and that will clean out the gray out of the reservoir, and I can move on to a new color. Okay, good enough. Let's get rid of this. And let's get a towel to dry my hands. Okay, next, let's airbrush this flower. So this flower, I'm going to do it pink, but I don't want it just a standard straight pink. I want to mix the colors. So I'm going to use my color formulation guide here. And let's see. I have a drip of water there. That's okay. Let's see what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to use this rosewood color. And rosewood is 3 parts pink, 1 part brown. Now, when I say parts, a part could be a drop of color. It could be a toothpick dipped in to the color and put in my icing or whatever I'm using. So you just want to keep your parts the same quantity. So 3 parts pink, 1 part brown. So I'm going to get another little container here. I'm going to get my pink and my brown Artisan Accents, my Pinkalicious, and my cocoa brown. And it's good to give these a shake first. So I'm just going to put 3, that was 1 drop, 2, 3 parts of pink, 1 part brown, and we are good to go. So now I'm going to just add some of my dilution solution. Put my cap on and give this a shake. Okay, and it's already mixed. So we have our rosewood. So I'm going to close this up, set it aside, and again, feel free to go on my website, learntocake.com, go under recipes, and this is free, the color formulation guide. All the recipes on the website are free. Okay, so there we have it. I'm going to get my airbrush again, turn it on, get rid of any of the leftover water that's in there. Pour this into my airbrush. Close my lid because I'm a spiller. I always spill. So I've got a nice color going here, and I'm going to open this up again. Let's put this back in my airbrush for a sec. Open that up for overspray, and here we go. So I can test my color on my paper towel, and you can see that's like a nice muted pink. It's not really strong. And when I'm airbrushing petals, usually they're wired, so I can pull a petal back and I can just kind of spray. I concentrate color more on the edges. Or, you know, some you might want a stronger color down at the base and a whiter petal around the edge. Totally up to you. But I usually go petal by petal. And it's a nice alternative to dusting. And when you airbrush, there's no need to steam, because when you dust your flowers, you have to steam them to set your color. So it's kind of taking a step out. But I saw somebody, a friend in Australia, airbrush his leaves, and oh my goodness, what a beautiful alternative to dusting. Not saying dusting is not a good thing to do. This is just a nice alternative. So I'm just focusing on the edges here. I can do a little bit on the back, just a light mist, give it a twirl, and we have a really nice airbrushed flower. Okay, so I'm going to set that aside. So now we're going to talk about painting. I'll shut this off. Somebody just messaged, actually, I did a cake where I wrote, "And so the adventure begins," on the cake, and they're like, "How did you do that?" So I'm just going to talk about that and tell you how I did it. So I'm going to get another clean piece of paper towel here. And a lot of you have seen the pencil transfer method, where you put your pattern backwards on a piece of parchment paper, and then you put it down on your fondant, and you have to retrace over it or rub something over it to get the pencil onto your fondant. Well, a lot of the times, and I kind of came across this by accident, a lot of the times your fondant is soft and you try and put the pattern by tracing or scratching the paper, and you mark your fondant up. I was doing this on a cake in the summertime, and I had brought my cake out of the fridge, and my cake was sweating. And I put the template on, and I didn't have to do anything. The sweat on the cake made the pencil stick to the fondant. So I have a piece of fondant here, and let's say you're not in a humid climate, or it's winter and it's not very humid, and your cakes aren't sweating when they come out of the fridge. Just use a little spray bottle. I'm going to just mist a little bit of water on my cake, and I'll dab some of that water off. I just want this tacky. You can do this on your cake. And then I'm going to take my pattern, which again I just traced using my phone, and I'm going to stick my paper down and hopefully this doesn't make me look like a liar. Every time I do this, I'm always like, oh, is it going to work? And it is working. So I'm just going to gently rub, and the moisture that I sprayed onto the cake, or if you're, like I said, if you take this out of the fridge and your cake is sweating, there we go. So you can see a very light transfer of the pencil. And I'm going to take some dilution solution, because this is great for painting as well. And some black. I always use just a regular old kitchen plate for my painting. And as my paint palette, I'm just going to squirt some black on here. And when I paint with black, typically I don't really dilute it too much. I use it almost full strength, but you can work with this like watercolors and just put a little bit of color in there. It doesn't have to be, you know, you can have it as diluted as you want, right? So that's like a very faint, it's not even showing up, a very faint gray. Let's put this here, okay? So you can have a very translucent color to paint with, or you can have more concentrated. So typically when I want something black, I'll just dip my brush in a little bit of dilution solution just to loosen this up a little bit, and then I follow my pattern. So we are writing love, because we all love cake, right? At least I do, except, you know, at 2 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday when I'm trying to finish my orders. Then sometimes I don't love it so much. I'm going to switch to a finer brush here. And so this is my trick for writing on cakes. You can also use, that's not a good brush. So the hairs are all like splayed. Glasses would be good too. I forgot to put on my glasses. So here we go. So that's how I write on my cakes. So that little trick, just spraying with the water, actually, if you're worried about water, hey, you can put dilution solution in your spray bottle instead of water, because it does evaporate a lot quicker than the water does. So that's actually a good idea, Sue. Sue. Nobody in the cake world calls me Sue, but everyone here at home calls me Sue. I'm just going to go over this a little bit, but it does really loosen your gel colors quite nicely for paints. So you can have it super concentrated like the black here, or you can really dilute it and have like a watercolor effect, and it will dry nice and quickly because it evaporates quickly. Okay, so there we have it. So we've airbrushed cookies. You can airbrush your flowers. You saw how easy this was to mix. It's idiot proof, really. And you can hang on to these colors. You don't have to throw them out or dispose of them. And this opens you up to having hundreds of different colors of airbrush color than just your standard pink, blue, green. You can mix them however you like. And again, this is all you need. Your 10 core colors and a bottle of dilution solution. You can paint, you can airbrush your entire cake. Lots of fun, okay? So remember, go to learntocake.com and go under recipes. My cookie recipe is there. The color guide formulation is there. And I hope you had fun. I sure did. Great product, awesome product. In Canada, you can get it at Icing Inspirations. In the US, there's all kinds of places. This sold out at the SoFlo show. It's really quite amazing. Okay, so yeah, have fun and play, and don't be afraid of your airbrush, guys. Have a good day.